the first of Floyd and Lorraine Rammell's 4 sons, was born January 2, 1961 in Ashton, Idaho. The scenic Teton Valley was the perfect place to raise a curious young boy, and Rex soon developed a love of wildlife and the great outdoors as he grew up in the shadows of the Grand Tetons. His grandpa Rammell and his father Floyd taught him and his brothers the fine art of fishing and hunting in the valley, a Rammell tradition since 1898. By the time Rex was 24, he had married his high school sweetheart and graduated from the University of Idaho with a bachelor's degree in animal science. From there, it was off to veterinary school at Kansas State University, where he received a doctorate in veterinary medicine and graduated with honors. Rex and his wife Linda soon purchased a veterinary clinic in Idaho Falls, where he recalls many a night pulling calves and performing emergency surgery on animals throughout the valley. It was during this period that he developed a deep empathy and respect for the hard work and trials of Idaho's farmers and ranchers. In 1994, the Rammells were presented with a unique opportunity. Elk ranching had recently been legalized in the state, and Rex saw this as a chance to fulfill one of his lifetime dreams, to own and operate his own ranch. The family sold their veterinary practice and purchased a small herd of elk outside Rexburg. What was to follow would be a roller coaster ride that would change their lives forever and set in motion a new path for Rex Rammell. At the time Rex and Linda started ranching, they had 1 son and 3 beautiful daughters. The elk ranch soon became a family project. The kids not only helped herd and feed the animals, but also helped raise several orphans. Bonnie and Clyde, their first 2 bottle babies, still bring back fond memories of life on the ranch. In 1997, about the time the Rammell family ranch was finally getting its feet off the ground, chronic wasting disease was discovered in the Wyoming deer population. Opponents to elk ranching took advantage of this disease and demanded heavy regulation on the fledgling Idaho industry. Market prices for elk dropped like a rock. Rex saw his dream slipping away from a disease that rarely affected elk and didn't even exist in the state of Idaho. That's when he put his education and determination to work to fight for what he believed was right. After months of contention over excessive rules and regulations proposed by the state, a showdown between Dr. Rammell, who represented many of the elk ranchers, and Dr. Bob Hillman, the state veterinarian, came to a head during the 2002 legislative session. After days of testimony and debate, both the Senate and House agreed with Dr. Rammell, and the contentious laws were repealed.
I had the opportunity to see Rex in action during the 2002 legislative debates, and I was struck by how well he knew his way around the State House and how quickly he was able to pick up the process. Dr. Rammell is a fighter and has been more than willing and proven very capable of standing up for all our constitutional rights.
Unfortunately, the 2002 battle in the Idaho legislature was only the beginning of the end for the Rammell family's elk ranch. Embarrassed and humiliated, the State Department of Agriculture began a series of malicious attacks against the Rammells. Once again, Dr. Rammell stood his ground, refusing to give in to the bureaucrats and fought for his private property rights, defeating the government 2 more times. Barely hanging on financially after fighting the state for 7 years, Rex's dream tragically ended in 2006 with the escape of over 100 head of elk from his mountain facility. The Rammells made a valiant effort to recapture the lost herd, but 3 weeks into the effort, with over 40 head captured, the state dropped a bombshell on the Rammells when then interim Governor Jim Risch ordered all of the remaining loose elk hunted and destroyed. Devastated by the order, the Rammells did their best to save as many elk as possible, but in the end, nearly all the elk were either lost or destroyed by the state. The Rammells were forced to sell their dream.
As I look back on the events concerning Rex Rammell, I know that he courageously and correctly defended his right to protect his property, to protect his civil rights, his personal property rights. It was a courageous thing to do, and he stood tall at that time.
Physically beat and deeply discouraged, Rex not only lost his ranch, but now faced criminal charges for interfering with the fish and game as they slaughtered his herd. Following a widely publicized trial, Rex was finally acquitted of all charges. He had beaten the government again, but had paid a great price in the process. Over a 7-year period, Dr. Rammell has led the charge to repeal unjust laws, change several key rulings, stop the illegal licensing of private property, successfully defended himself in 2 civil and 2 criminal trials, and won a Supreme Court case. His defiant spirit and willingness to fight for what he knows is right has been an inspiration to many who cannot stand up for themselves.
Many hours of thought and prayer have gone into this decision. The truth is that we're on the verge of losing the America we grew up with. I believe that right now our nation's greatest threat is not found in the terrorists of Al-Qaeda, but the perverse doctrine of socialism that is spreading throughout this country like a cancer. The combination of excessive taxation, out-of-control spending, and unsustainable debt have put our nation on the road to bankruptcy. Even worse is the moral and social demise of our country's greatest strength, the American individual. I'm not your ordinary politician. In fact, I'm not a politician at all. I'm simply a man who is willing to fight for what he knows is right. I worked my entire life to become self-reliant, only to be exploited by a system that rewards idleness and penalizes ambition. Over these last 7 years, I've discovered something I believe is truly worth fighting for, the United States Constitution. My personal trials have led me to study this magnificent document's undeniable principles, and I've come to know just how influential it was to the shaping of our country. Now, 220 years later, America stands divided, and our only real hope is found in the sacred principles of the Constitution. I ask you to help me fight one more battle, the battle for common sense, for what's right and wrong, and this time I fight for all of us.